Hello everybody and welcome to the 2016 Township Debate. We are fortunate to have 4 representatives here with us tonight. Representing Newtown, we have Leandre Level. From Prairie Township, Michael Moore. Coming live from Brookstone is Mo Maharik, and Jordan Leonard is representing Gateway Township. Tonight we will focus on some hot topics regarding township consolidation and hear what our panel of representatives have to say about each issue. As of 2015, Indiana is made up of 1,008 townships. A township in Indiana is anywhere between 6 to 54 square miles, with the average being 36. Each township has an elected trustee with an elected 3-member legislative body known as the Township Board. The most common duties of a township include, but are not limited to, trash collection, land use planning, and road maintenance. Over the course of several years, there has been a lot of debate over whether townships should merge, which could potentially create smoother function of local governments. During this presentation, we will discuss the pros and cons of township reform and any possible alternatives to the current township structure in Indiana. Our first question will be directed towards Michael and Mo. A community feeling is huge for townships because it allows for a sense of involvement in having their ideas heard. Some opponents say that this also creates separation between local and state government, and that township mergers will allow for a greater consensus of a particular area. Support your stance on individualism regarding township mergers.
A merge of townships will absolutely create a greater sense of agreement between two townships. Reason being is because some townships already share the same school, share the same areas of entertainment, and even share the same restaurants. So residents of the two areas interact with one another on a day-to-day basis. For example, let's take the township of Perry and the township of Whitestown. Perry and Whitestown are going to court on an issue of merging the two townships, when in reality it should not be an issue at all. In fact, some of Whitestown's territory is in Perry, so merging the two would be a logical way of settling the dispute. The two townships already agree on some of the same issues. It's just Whitestown feels a sense of inferiority when comparing it to a neighboring township of Perry. But that feeling of inferiority would eventually die out, and the two townships finally get a chance to work together to a greater good.
Across Indiana, there are many different types of communities, from large city communities to suburban communities to rural communities. Many of these communities have their own ordinances and proactive agendas that are specific to their communities. What I mean by this is that people of these communities take pride by actively being involved in their local government. An example of this is volunteer workers for the public sector. Many of these communities across Indiana use volunteer firefighters to assist with local fire services, which create a sense of involvement while at the same time saving taxpayers money they would have to pay to employ new firefighters. Another point of this is that when local governments are consolidated, and in this case townships, people are being cut, jobs are being lost, that employs members of the community. This is especially true in smaller rural communities, which make up a good majority of Indiana. This sense of community is also important because people want their governments to be representative and accessible.
Some local townships in Indiana struggle to find money to support their community. Supporters of consolidation say that merging will help fund those small communities and help increase productivity. The opposition argues that they have been able to support themselves thus far with no major problems. Why should they agree or even consider a merger just to benefit another township? Jordan and Leandre, what are your responses to this?
Taxpayers try their best to fund services in their communities. Some townships are financially well, some are not. When merging two or more townships, both must be able to accept each other's debt and financial standing. Research has shown that usually means one side benefits from the merger while the other one suffers. That's not fair for the taxpayers and for paying for services that they do not want, cannot afford, or do not need.
The real problems regarding funding are the guidelines or lack thereof the trustees follow. David Mosby, the trustee for Perry Township, said, "It's at the discretion of the trustee whether you want to help a person." And in many small townships, unethical procedures are taking place while going unnoticed. In 1993, his father, who was a trustee at the time, denied a young couple poor relief because they were living together out of wedlock, and this went against his religious beliefs. It is absurd to think this would happen, but not much has changed since then, and many trustees run unopposed, so saying they are elected officials is a bit of a stretch. Another problem is the percentage of which the taxes are being collected. In 2009, Barton Township had a surplus of $231,000 in poor relief, and only $31,000 were spent. That extra money cannot be spent elsewhere, as for the roads or the fire department, because it is in a protected account. But if the opposite happened, where the township was underfunded, there would be a crisis because the percentage at which townships collect money is so difficult to change. The consolidation of townships would protect citizens from people like David Mosby. There would be a greater consensus of voters to elect qualified officials, and by diminishing the levels of government, townships would have a louder voice and be able to make changes that truly affect their people. These outrageous percentage levels could be fixed and money could be allocated differently. But with 1,008 townships, not everybody is heard.
The bureaucracy of local township governments has been subject of scrutiny by those who seek consolidation and those who support township governments. What would be implemented to reduce this and retain consensus of the community? Michael, what are your thoughts on this?
Bureaucracies at all levels of government tend to be scrutinized more often than not. While those seeking consolidation say that the number of elected officials and the overall bureaucratic style of local governments make decision-making inefficient, we disagree in that the bigger is better theory of government doesn't necessarily mean or guarantee better efficiency. According to an article, Demographia by Wendell Cox in 2009, there are actually a number of instances across the country where consolidation actually increases spending. Indiana, as of now, ranks 17th in the number of governments per 10,000 population, 27th highest capita taxation in the country, and 38th in debt per capita, which is actually better than states with much lower numbers of townships. An example of this is Hawaii, which has no cities or townships or counties, yet they rank higher than Indiana. So those in favor of merging argue that the different bodies and separations of policymaking confuse citizens and further stagnate the legislative process and want a single legislative body. Yet many of these positions are elected officials that retain the individualism of the community they serve. Simpler systems can be added to local townships to make operations run more smoothly upward and downward.
Indiana is a state where taxpayers support lots and lots of governments. We, in Indiana, maintain literally 1,000 of these local governments, and we, residents of Indiana, are paying for more than 10,000 office holders. Local government reforms should drive real cost savings for Indiana citizens through the reduction of local government layers and the adoption of other cost-saving measures. Reduced government and greater accountability can and will lead to better services and reduced costs. To improve operation and streamlined administrative functions result in more efficient use of funds. And the result of all of that is more efficient, higher functioning system of local government.
With the question of consolidating townships, one would have to factor in the schools in these townships. Some residents would agree that combining these school districts will cause the two communities to unite as one and potentially enhance the students' education, while others are more worried about the teacher layoffs that will come with this process of merging. Back up your stance on whether or not the benefit of increasing the quality of education outweighs the impact it has on teacher layoffs. Leandre, what do you think?
In rural communities, oftentimes school district is the heart of the township. And the state of Indiana school district receive funding from the state based on the property taxes in their townships. By merging could cost jobs for great teachers. When trying to integrate different student populations, administrators, support staff, and this could cause an explosion in the township's budget and create internal problems in the school district and the system as a whole.
Well, Ball State studied school mergers in Indiana and found that schools with less than 1,000 students are less efficient in educating students than those in larger communities. And many of the schools with 2,000 students have seen a decline in enrollment since 2006. Consolidation is the only viable option for many of these schools. It is a tough decision to shut the doors, but when the students are suffering because schools are being stubborn, we are only setting them back for their future. And with the rising cost of college education, it is more important now that our youth be prepared for their future, which could lead to more scholarships and less debt when they graduate. Yes, it is unpleasant to lay off teachers, but if they are not supplying their students with the necessary knowledge for advancement, then why should they be teaching? Not all teachers would be laid off, though, because the great teachers will be hired at the consolidated school to help with the enrollment of the new students. A quality education for the youth should be the main focus, and consolidation can make that happen.
Taxpayer dollars are used to support the local police departments and fire stations. Some say that mergers would create, in other words, an ultimate police station or fire station while providing the same reach and response times due to hiring more employees. Supporters of local townships say this is not true regarding response time and would feel safer with these necessities closer to their localities. Support your stance of creating a bigger department with possibly more to offer would be more beneficial to taxpayers and the people versus continuing to have small but vast amounts of stations located closer to the communities. Mo, do you support this?
A merge of townships will without a doubt be more beneficial to the taxpayers of the township, and a so-called ultimate police station or fire department will withhold more staff. With more money being brought into these police stations and or fire departments, these emergency personnel will have a chance to improve their equipment and technology. With more staff in police stations, there will be more policemen out on the streets. A consolidation can improve the effectiveness by eliminating problems of coordination and compatibility in service delivery systems. A consolidation can improve efficiency by eliminating overlap and duplication of services. A consolidation will save a substantial amount of money over time and will also improve overall efficiency, eliminate duplication of fixed resources, increase purchasing powers, and increase teamwork within a fire department and a police station.
Yeah, bigger departments might actually be costing the taxpayers more. To quote Cox in a 2009 report, there are costs to harmonizing the service levels and employee compensation packages. Employees and their unions can be expected to receive remuneration packages that reflect the most, expensive pre-consolidation packages in both wages and benefits. This means that the shifting these workers, you have to provide new union packages that come out of the taxpayers' pockets. Payroll is another expenditure that the newly formed larger governments would have to pay for, and there would be traditional costs for this. Another reason is that townships already effectively reach and respond to these certain areas effectively. Townships arrange and provide fire services and emergency services only where the same services aren't already being provided by other jurisdictions, as well as they provide township assistance where local governments help their neighbors, basically. As previously stated, there are many volunteer workers in these services, and consolidation means having to hire and pay new employees, which overall increase spending. These volunteers also are already located in these communities, which means they can respond and provide assistance quickly.
Final question. Mergers are said to increase income and property tax in order to keep up with higher expenses to cover public services and road maintenance. Why would residents want to pay more in taxes to cover costly public expenditures that would come from the merger versus continuing to pay little to no income and property taxes? Jordan, where do you stand on this issue?
In 2013, the American Society of Civil Engineers released a road report card for Indiana, giving the state a D+ for its road conditions. The average Indiana driver spent $391 per year in repairs due to our roads. Property taxes are used to help fund a variety of services, including roads, buildings, police, fire, etc., and mergers will increase these taxes, but that will mostly be because the merge will make the area more appealing, and due to that fact, the township will bring in more money. Initially, the property tax will go up, but after a few years of reinvestment in updating roads, buildings, and other services, the township will bring in more business. Zionsville recently acquired land from Perry Township and elected its first ever mayor. The land is undeveloped, and now Zionsville is able to help grow the area by merging a part of Perry with itself. If the people can stay, and put up with the taxes that will come about from this purchase, then they can possibly join neighboring Whitestown in being the fastest growing locale in the state. This is just a small piece of what consolidation can do for a township.
My opponents believe that merging townships will help save on costs of budgeting, but what about the people? Research has shown that if two or more townships merge and do not have similar property tax rate or property values or income, the economic influx can cause residents to pay more in taxes. In other words, if Franklin Township, which have an average income of $80,000 a year and is above the state average in income levels, merges with Perry Township, which is below the state average, Perry Township homes value will drop and could see an increase in taxes to offset the cost of services when merging. This is the main problem with township mergers, and it is an undue burden to those communities, ironically in the name to save money.
Tonight's debate has been an insightful look into the issue surrounding township mergers. The representatives now have 1 minute for closing arguments to support their views on the overall issue. We'll start off with Michael.
I am totally against consolidation. I just think it would cost taxpayers more than what they're getting in return. I think individuals and communities want to keep that uniqueness, and they want to be representative. They want to be represented in their townships. They want to participate, and they want to be involved. So I think consolidation moves away from that, and I think people in their communities would just prefer townships over consolidating.
So, if you were to ask me whether or not townships in Indiana should be consolidated or merged, I would answer with a firm yes. I strongly believe that we have an absurd amount of townships in Indiana. We have many townships that are near vacant or ghost towns. We also have townships that are struggling to maintain a community because of their lack of resources and income as a local government. And I suggest a way to fix those problems is by merging townships.
I don't see the bureaucracy in local townships government as a problem. Township trustees are the only elected officials where you can walk into their office and actually talk about the issues in your community. It's the people in the community that elected them. To seek a merger or consolidation would have been a loss to the local support when trying to build a local library or a local police station and more. There must be a consensus of the community. My opponents believe that centralizing the local power will make the government more simpler and save money, but it does not mean it will be more efficient and effective. The best bet is to maintain the status quo and do not change the township standings or merge them.
Well, my view on the issue is simple. Township consolidation has long been a topic of discussion in Indiana, but nothing has really been done. Citizens of small townships need to consider the harm they are doing to the kids in the school system. They need to think about what a bigger township can create for the community as a whole. It may cost the people initially, but the long-term effect the merger will have could be extremely beneficial. For everybody who wants a voice and wants to be heard and make a change for what they believe in, then consolidation is a must. This country is about advancement and innovation, which is why merging townships for the greater good will make our state even stronger.
Thanks to everyone who tuned in, and have a great night.